In 1792, more than 2,000 years later, a fixed optical telegraph line was developed in France. It linked Paris with Lille in the north. Devised by the French engineer Claude Chappe, the semaphore system consisted of 3 simple signal elements, a beam and 2 arms. With it, Chappe was able to reproduce the entire alphabet and a number of other symbols. The Lille to Paris visual signal line included 22 towers, and it took only 2 minutes to relay a symbol along the 270-kilometre long route. Chappe's visual telegraph was soon in great demand in Prussia as a swift communications system. With Prussian thoroughness, the number of arms was increased to 6. In 1830, this optical telegraph line linked Berlin with distant Koblenz. One of the great inventions of the 19th century ushered in the era of swift communication, the electric telegraph. Samuel Morse from Charlestown in the American state of Massachusetts did more than anyone to develop the electric telegraph and introduce it on a worldwide basis. The first electromagnetic telegraph was devised in Göttingen, Germany, by Carl Friedrich Gauss and Wilhelm Weber. In 1833, the 2 scholars operated a private telegraph line over housetops between Göttingen Observatory and the physics laboratory. They communicated via a special code they'd drawn up. As soon as current flowed, the electromagnet at the reception point pulled down the pencil, which drew an angle on the paper. If the circuit was interrupted, the pencil returned to its position of rest. Each sequence of angles and straight lines represented a symbol that could be checked in a code book. In 1843, the first telegraph line in the United States was completed. It linked the capital, Washington, with Baltimore, 60 kilometers to the north. Other lines followed. By this time, Morse had improved his original development. With the new Morse key, a skillful telegraph operator could relay up to 80 characters a minute. The newly developed Morse code was a binary system. Using a sequence of dots and dashes, Morse was able to transmit every letter and numeral. Every telegraph operator had to know the Morse code. To indicate where one character stopped and the next one started, 3 spaces were always inserted between any 2 letters or numerals. The basic principle of telegraphy remained unchanged. The telegraph is a remote-controlled electromagnet. When the Morse key is pressed at the sending point, a contact is closed. As a result, the electromagnet at the receiving point raises a lever and forces a pen or pencil down onto a paper strip. Messages are transmitted as a sequence of impulses. 1 or more impulses form a character. Soon, dispatches were being sent and received at newly opened telegraph offices in towns and cities all over the country. Telegraph operator was a popular job. In order to improve transmission speeds, instead of waiting for machines to print out characters, operators listened to the impulses and wrote down the messages directly. Naturally, this called for tremendous concentration. One of the most gigantic undertakings in the second half of the 19th century was the laying of submarine telegraph cables. For the first time in history, worldwide communication had become possible. The telegraph company's huge underwater cables spanned thousands of kilometers. A new form of communication that didn't require any cables was radiotelegraphy, which appeared at the beginning of this century. It proved a particular help to shipping. For the first time, captains of vessels in distress could put out an SOS call and thus sometimes save the lives of passengers and crew. It revolutionized the press too. In the past, newspaper reports had often taken days to arrive. Now they could be dispatched around the world in seconds, to the benefit of readers. Telegraphy made distances shrink. The telegram, a message quickly transmitted down a wire, soon became popular for private purposes too. At the time, it seemed inconceivable that messages could reach far-off places almost as quickly as they could the next town. But how many hands did a telegram have to pass through before it finally reached the addressee?
Wat gebeurt er nou precies als ik probeer te bellen? Nou, stap 1, mijn telefoon moet aanstaan. En die maakt via radiogolven verbinding met de antenne die het dichtst in de buurt staat. Stap 2, ik ga het nummer invoeren en zodra ik ga bellen, stel ik me voor aan het netwerk. Het netwerk checkt wie ik ben, wat ik allemaal mag doen, autoriseert mij en kijkt waar degene is die ik probeer te bereiken. Stap 3. Het netwerk zoekt de persoon die ik wil bellen en vindt via de centrales de antenne die het dichtste bij deze persoon staat. Stap 4. De telefoon van de ander gaat over en hij kan zelf bepalen of hij wel of niet wil opnemen. Hi Ramon. Hey, klopt het nou dat alle mobiele verbindingen dus door de lucht gaan via radiogolven?
Nee, niet helemaal. Eigenlijk gaat 80% van die verbindingen gewoon ondergronds via onze centrales.
Hé, maar hoezo staan er dan allemaal van die antennes in het landschap?
Kijk, ik maak nu verbinding met deze antenne. Maar die antenne stuurt vervolgens het signaal via een netwerk van centrales de grond in. En uiteindelijk komt hij bij een antenne die het dichtst bij jou in de buurt is, weer boven de grond.
Maar als ik dan naar Amerika bel, gaat dat dan ook via de grond en niet via een satelliet of zo?
Dat klopt. We hebben een snelweg van kabels tussen Europa en Amerika liggen, waarover wij al onze telefonie en internetverkeer verwerken.
Nou, interessant. Dankjewel.